I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, I guess you're a pro at that, Karen. You have it down pat.
What, the pledge?
Oh boy, you've rocketed through that.
I'm sorry.
No,
I thought I
no.
was being very distinct and
You were.
enunciation.
I'm just saying you're a professional because you do it so many times.
That's right. All of my meetings start with the pledge.
Welcome, Carolyn. Haven't seen you in a while. How are you doing?
I am good, and I just unmuted myself. How you doing?
Right. Welcome. Good to see you.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a quorum, so we can go ahead with our, oh, actually, that's the third point. So why don't we do approval of the minutes first? I know Andy and I had a chance to review it. I don't know if you saw them, Carolyn. But I guess
I sent it again today, just a few minutes ago with your suggestion, Bill, for the departure of Mike.
And yeah, they look good. I'm still kind of tossing around how do we track ongoing outstanding or actions that we want to follow up on, because sometimes they end up in, sometimes I remember to put them in the agenda, and other times I notice that, you know, they come into the minutes, which is fine. I just have to remember whether I should grab them from the minutes and add them to the agenda so that they are ongoing. You know, I just haven't figured out how to do that smooth.
Sorry.
Karen or Rick, do you guys have a suggestion as to how do other groups keep like older topics or something that you want to table and then come back to? Do they add it to minutes, or do they have a separate document that they?
I don't know how they keep track of it, but they usually have a place on the agenda for old business. But then you have to decide what to put into the old business.
Right.
So I don't know how they do it.
I
Yeah,
can tell you how I do it.
We have old business in our agenda, so I could.
Yeah, Carolyn has a suggestion because she's been in business doing that.
Sure.
So I keep an action and decision log, and it's just like a running Excel sheet that I keep. Like for this, it would probably be maybe for the year or whatever. And as the things are closed, we just mark them as closed. And then we can sort them to keep the open decisions or actions, whatever, open. I could send you a sample of one.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Thanks.
Yeah, it works pretty good for us.
And then we have to decide if we're going to just do this in email or whether we want to create a Google Doc drive letter or drive and just keep a running document for the EAB. We'd have to figure out who owns that Google folder. And I guess it would have to be a township owned Google folder. So they'd have to have a Gmail that they could allocate to creating that folder. And then we could just keep our log in a Google Doc or a spreadsheet and then track it that way. So that's not a bad idea. Brandon, does anybody have used Google Drive at the township?
Not really.
You're muted, Brandon.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Sorry. A couple people use it from time to time, but it's not something we have a lot of stuff on.
Does anybody use Teams at the township?
No, we don't use Teams either.
Because Teams is like super easy.
Yeah, we should use something like that. I've talked about it before. Just tighten up communication, but it's not something that we've investigated yet.
Well, if you don't mind trying it, we could try a Google folder for now. And then if the township ever gets to use Teams, we could move over to that. But since you've already got a couple examples, maybe if you're willing to set up a Gmail for the township to just allocate a folder for the EAB, you could talk to Len about it and see if that's okay.
Sure. That sounds good.
Um,
Is there like a township EAB email?
It's a full, yeah, Gmail, you need a Gmail account to set up a Google Drive folder, but then once you create the folder, so you could have a township level email, and then the township could have separate folders for each of its boards. So, you know, they could just have a generic township email, or they could create emails for each board and create folders for each board. So there's a couple ways to do it. Welcome, Matt. Thank you. Good to see you. So I guess we could do our reorganization because we have 4 board members, and the purpose of the reorganization is just to set up our roles for this coming year. Does anybody want to volunteer to be chair? If not, I can continue. Does anybody want to volunteer to be vice chair? Who was vice chair last year, Debbie?
Vice chair was Mike Van Buren.
Ah, so we lost Mike Van Buren, so we need a new vice chair.
I'm going to nominate Andy.
And that's really
I-
just backup, Andy, in case I can't make a meeting.
Yeah, I can do that. I didn't want to take on too much more. I mean, I have a hard time keeping up with things, but I can certainly try to help here.
Unless Mike's,
Vice chair is okay. Yeah.
unless Mike's open to it, well, let's see what he wants to do. Hey, welcome, Mike. Hey, Mike.
Hear me?
Just faintly. How's your mic doing?
If you can hear me.
Yeah, just very faintly. Can you hear us? Okay, Mike's working on his audio. All right, so Andy, if you don't mind, we'll ask you to be vice chair, and then secretary or minutes taker. Anyone want to volunteer for that?
Everybody's
Willing
looking
to
at
give
you,
it
Debbie.
up.
Everybody's looking at you.
Debbie, you're so good at it.
Well, I appreciate that there's other people still taking some notes, Andy. So that's fine. I can continue to do so. So I appreciate the support from the others. So I can continue to do that.
Okay, so we have our candidates, myself for chair, Andy for vice, and Debbie for secretary. Do I have a motion to approve?
Can you guys hear me now? I'm sorry.
Now we hear you, Mike.
Now we do.
Excellent.
Mike, did you want to volunteer for any roles?
I was just going to say, I approve all 3 of those choices. No, seriously, especially you, Bill. Without you, I don't know what this group would look like. So
So how about Mike, you make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
And may I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Carolyn and Mike. All right, good. So we'll move on to point 4 is,
Wait, can you go back to the approve the minutes for December?
oh, I forgot. Did I skip over minutes? Sorry about that. Yes, so we've Mike, did you get a chance to see the minutes?
I saw the email, but I'm sorry, I didn't have a chance to look at them yet.
So I think Andy, myself, and Debbie have reviewed them. We feel fairly comfortable. So may I have a motion to approve?
Yeah, motion to approve minutes.
And I'll second because I read them. So we'll pass the minutes. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
Good job. So number 4 is Villanova Spring 2020 Energy Assessment. And we have Matt Peterson here from Villanova.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Debbie. Hey, everybody. Good to see you again.
Good to
Hey,
see
Rick.
you. And just because I've got a new face here on the screen, for those I didn't introduce yet, Richard Cole is a guest from West Norton. He's joining their EAC. He's been to one of our Ready for 100 meetings, so he and I spoke, and I invited him to here just to see how we run our meetings. So Matt, thank you for jumping in. I know you're working on your master's thesis, and this is the last thing you want to spend time doing, but appreciate anything you can tell us about what you achieved in the spring.
Sure. I saw the email you sent today, Bill, and I thought it said February 16th. I can pull up, let me see if I can find this presentation. Because we did have a finished presentation.
In the meantime, I can, if you need some time here to get your PowerPoint open, Andy and I have been working with Matt and Elizabeth on the energy transition plan starting point that we've been attending Paula's Clean Energy Strategic Planning Series since last August, and it's continuing now every 2 weeks through May. And our target by the end of May is to come up with a draft plan. We're currently on the agenda to present our first cut at some actions to the township at their workshop on February 1st, Monday, February 1st. And it's really an invite for the environmental board to make the presentation. So Andy and I, being representatives of the environmental board, will be doing that. But I want to invite Carolyn, Mike, and Debbie, if you're available, to attend Monday the 1st to the workshop Zoom, 6 o'clock. We'll probably only get 12 to 15 minutes because the council always has a packed agenda. But I appreciate if you're available to kind of give us your support. So I'll keep going, Matt, until you tell me you're ready. So
I think I'm ready.
all right, good. All right, so
Ready as it can be.
we'll just pivot back to Matt's work. So this is all coming together. So Matt's work, Villanova team's work from fall of 2019 and spring of 2020 is going to meld into the energy transition plan work that Matt, Andy, and I and Elizabeth have been working on since August. And then this will kind of fold into a transition plan document and presentation to council that we hope to, be able to give to them by, June, let's say, this year.
Okay, so I would like to preface this. I have not really viewed this presentation for about 8 months. But so yeah, in the spring, we worked on the energy baseline and electricity use and understanding understanding different options for renewable electricity. And this semester, we were looking more at liquid fuels, which is the natural gas and diesel and gasoline, and trying to figure out what to do with that portion. So can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Your presentation is actually, you're in presenter review notes mode on this screen.
Nope. just zoom in. No, that's not good either.
I think on the slideshow drop down, you can change the monitor.
There you go.
Where was it? I thought there was a,
What about swap displays?
Yeah, I just saw that button, but now everything is dark.
now it's working.
Is it?
Yep.
Well, at least we're seeing the presentation. We were.
What about now?
Now we're back in your notes node mode or edit mode.
Swap displays. Okay, here we go. Cool. All right,
Good.
here we go. This is the right one. Okay. So good. We're gonna start with a recap. I did a lot of the work in the vehicle electrification, so analyzing your fleet. Then we looked at building electrification. I think there's only 2 properties. One is the community center pictured, and maybe one other property that uses natural gas. And then we did a building audit at the community center. It was a virtual audit, and I think Rick and Bill were both present for that. So recapping goals. I'm wondering, do you see the Zoom thing? Is the Zoom in the way?
Nope, it's a clean slide.
Okay. So recapping Plymouth Township goals: 100% renewably sourced electricity by 2035. So that's electricity is what we looked at in the first project. 100% clean renewable energy for heating and transportation equipment by 2050, and 100% renewable energy sources for township vehicles where feasible by, I can't see the date on that because of Zoom, but is that 2030, 2035?
Yeah, 2030.
2030. So recapping the methodology for how to achieve the energy transition. So it starts by measuring, like where do you stand right now? You want to reduce as much as you can, and then electrify all of the liquid fuels. So electrify natural gas, electrify gasoline and diesel, so you can get them all onto clean, renewable electricity. So does that make sense to everybody? I think we saw that slide in the past, but everyone good?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Cool. So again, recapping the energy breakdown. GPCC is your biggest user, and then diesel and your gasoline fleet, municipal buildings, streetlights, and then about 14 other properties make up the remaining 8%. So vehicle fleet is total 37% of Plymouth Township's energy. So vehicle electrification, we started with the baseline, looking at all your fleet stuff, looking at all the vehicles, and then we tried to look at what might be a viable alternative for what is up next for replacement, and then looked a little bit at incentives for charging infrastructure, and make some recommendations. So the baseline uses about 50,000 gallons of diesel, 50,000 gallons of gasoline, roughly. The vehicle fleet drives 350,000 miles. It emits almost 1,000 metric tons of CO2 equivalent emissions, and it cost the township $214,000 in fuel. So to figure this out, to get the vehicle miles traveled, and to get a full assessment of the fleet, we actually went to the Public Works Garage and looked through all the inspections, which have the mileage on there at the last inspection. So we covered a whole year of inspections, compiled it into a database, and then we were able to plot it. So cars, trucks, SUVs. This is vehicle age by total mileage. So first thing we did is everything older than 7 years. Could be a potential candidate for replacement. Or we separated those out. So everything older than 7 years, we looked at annual mileage versus total mileage. So that's like the usage profile. If it's old and it gets used a lot, then it is a good candidate for replacement with EVs. Some of them are low use, so it's hard to get the payback with low use, so less than 5,000 annual miles.
Just curious, Matt, the little icons I can see you've got separated into 3 categories. So what's interesting, I guess, is that it's not quite a third, but there is a good number of cars, right? And are those mostly police?
The SUVs, I don't know off the top of my head. I could pull up the spreadsheet.
No.
I would.
It's not that urgent. I just was curious.
Yeah, I think the police fleet is the biggest fleet in the township. Rick probably knows.
Yeah, for sure. And they've been transitioning to SUVs over the last several years. So there's fewer police cars. Mostly the fleet is SUVs now, both what's what I would call larger, like Ford Expeditions, and then smaller or excursions, and then smaller SUVs also. But there's fewer and fewer police cars.
So the ones that were candidates for replacement have greater than 70,000 lifetime miles, and less than 8,000 annual miles. And then plug-in hybrid. So I think it's a charging thing. I don't quite remember, but anything greater than 8,000 annual miles. We use a methodology from Electrification Coalition. So it's not just something that we came up with, but this is kind of how they broke it down, and we applied it to your fleet. So I think what we did is we took the top 2, I think these 2 in the top corner, and we looked at, so if we looked at their use, and I believe they were police vehicles. Actually, no, what we did is we chose a code enforcement vehicle because we knew that there's a lot of like restrictions with the police vehicle. You need there's only certain alternatives that you can really use. So we chose the code enforcement vehicle, and I think that might've been this one sitting at around 6,000 miles. So then we looked at all of the vehicles that were available through CoStar's purchasing program and tried to get a 20-year cost of ownership breakdown to compare them. And over 20 years, the EV is the lowest cost, has the highest upfront purchase cost, but the replacement tires and maintenance is really the thing that's driving that low lifetime estimated cost. And it saves a bit on fuel. So here, cost of ownership versus associated emissions. So even though those costs are somewhat comparable, you can see major difference in the CO2 equivalent over the lifetime. So the plug-in hybrid and PHEV, a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, and the regular EV have way less lifetime CO2 emissions, even though costs are roughly the same. So then we looked, really the first thing you want to do before you would go and purchase a vehicle is install a charger, probably the municipal building or GPCC. So there are a lot of incentives available right now. So a full public access network means that it's connected to, it basically reads the data on the cars and like is able to, it's kind of, I guess it's kind of like selling when you sign up for an app on your phone and it collects the data. So if it's a network charger, you're providing data to the providers of the charger, I guess. So it's networked. You get $4,500 per plug, or 90% of the total project cost. And these level 2 chargers are less than $4,500. So you'd be paying 10% of that total cost with these incentives that are available. And I should be checked again recently, because this presentation's about 8 months old. But I do believe that these incentives should still be available.
Is that just,
So-
sorry to interrupt, that's just on the cost of the charger? That's not the installation? They just give you 90% of the cost of the charger?
I believe it's maximum percent of total project cost. 90% of the total project cost. And I think that's a good question. I should check whether these are just the charger per charger, or whether they do include the installation. I thought they did. I could be mistaken though.
Okay.
So the recommendation is it was really a lot of work to go and get all the data on all those vehicles, and manually input it all into a spreadsheet. So the first recommendation we have is to implement some sort of digital system for your vehicle management. There's probably a lot of software out there that you can use that makes it simpler. Next recommendation is to install level 2 charger while those rebates are available. Do a pilot EV to get like mechanics accustomed to it into code enforcement. And then just keep your eye on the EV landscape, because co-stars might be bringing on new vehicles, new EVs. There's new EVs getting released every year. So the purchase price should come down over the next 5 years. And then there's hybrid police interceptors. So they are the cars, they're not SUVs, even though you're moving away from cars. That could be a decent interim option to bring down CO2 emissions.
Before you go on that last bullet, I was wondering if you looked into that anymore. It seemed like,
Andrew.
And you're coming in a little.
Yeah, the old garbles.
I'll get a headset and I'll come back. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had one quick question for you before you move on, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
With the, that you talked briefly there about the rebates and all that. With the administration changing, I don't have any feel for whether those are going to be extended or increased or decreased. Do you guys have any gut feel for what the new administration is going to do with all that kind of stuff, or what?
Yeah, my gut is they will likely extend incentives, if not increase incentives, but that's just a guess.
Yeah, that would kind of jive with what their policies are, I think. But okay.
And I think, Mike, right now the incentives are for the chargers themselves. I don't know that we will qualify necessarily for rebate on the vehicle, only because as a government entity, we don't file federal tax, and the incentives from vehicles are usually, an offset to your income tax.
Mm.
This is Andy. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, Bill, I don't know. We'd have to check into that, because I know I probably get a plug-in hybrid, and it was not a tax incentive. It was a rebate. In fact, it really went to the dealership, and they just gave me the amount off. They filed the paperwork on that. So it's just something to look into. I don't know what the policies are, or what the options are there. What I wanted to ask before was, how much had you looked into the hybrid police vehicles? Because I've just been hearing more about that as a little bit of a stepping stone here in the near term that some other municipalities were using. Did you get much research in that or no?
So we read a couple articles and people's reviews on them. And what they're saying they said they're win-wins. Like, they have some of them, sometimes they're even faster than the standard police interceptor. And they're also cheaper. but I'm not, I haven't looked into it in a little bit. So
Uh,
I think we have heard in the Ready for 100 workshops that some townships are going that way.
Yeah, I know Springfield, Springfield Township is looking at a hybrid EV for their police.
It doesn't meet our goal, but I mean, back on that other chart, I mean, I don't know what that was, a 20-30% improvement or whatever by going to the hybrid. That was good, I think, forward one. Yeah. I don't know, whatever.
So we want to reduce the black, or what is the total cost of ownership? So we want the lowest black and the lowest green, right?
Yeah, green is money, black is carbon emissions. So it's not a perfect comparison, but the police interceptor would be the HEV. So it's significant reduction in carbon emissions.
Yeah, that's
So
what I was
which-
looking at there.
Which one is, that is the second one, Matt?
The third one,
The
right?
third, the HEV, yeah, hybrid electric vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, it is showing very competitive cost, and you're getting significant emission savings. So certainly as a stepping stone. And then while we maybe do the full EV for code enforcement vehicle and kind of get our feet wet with that, you know, that might be very enticing if we can convince the township. But certainly good savings there, 40% or something on the emissions of the hybrid.
And it is available through CoStars.
Thanks, Matt.
Any more questions on vehicles? Okay, building. So this is something that another team member really was in charge of. Rick and Bill, maybe you can help me out with some of this. So natural gas baseline, Harriet Weatherall is the other natural gas property. But the 20,000 BTU peak there really pales in comparison to the natural gas use at the GPCC. And we looked total before. I don't want to go all the way back to the beginning, but I think it was something like, so vehicles were 900 metric tons of CO2 equivalent emissions, and this is primarily GPCC is about half of all your vehicles, just the natural gas use, and $60,000 in natural gas per year. So the way to electrify heating primarily is with heat pumps. So geothermal heat pump, air source heat pump. I know there was discussion about the municipal building. I think I had asked Bill, they haven't yet dug the well.
They did dig the well.
They did.
They did. They dug the well last week, and they hit a artesian well, it's called. So they had 250 gallons per minute of water, which is not good for a geothermal. So they're talking now about they hit that about 400 feet. The wells usually are 500 feet. So they're talking about maybe seeing if they can. The engineer and the well digger, well driller are talking. They're thinking maybe of, they haven't done the test, the BTU test yet. I'm assuming they'll do that this week. They put the loop in, but they're talking now that they may have to go to 300-foot wells, but that means more wells, and they're trying to figure out if they have the room to do that. So that's kind of where it's at right now.
Well, thanks for the update. So we did like it was a online calculator. We plugged in some basic inputs, and we came up with like a range numbers between 130,000. Oh no, sorry. So it would save 26,000 a year in energy costs with that geothermal heat pump based on our calculations. So if the project were to cost somewhere between 130,000 or 260,000, it would be between a 5 and 10 year payback. that was just to give a rough idea of kind of the ROI there. But I'm sure that the engineers have better numbers than we were doing. So community center building audit. We got a lot of good results out of this. So switching lighting to LEDs, this is total. So I know that there's been significant progress made. But switching to LEDs alone, if there were 0 LEDs to start, it would save $6,300 in electricity and almost 80,000 pounds of CO2 equivalent emissions. Some recommendations that came out of the whole analysis is building automation system calibration optimization. I know you can work with the engineers or the installers of that. Pool covers could be a significant saver. Variable frequency drive pumps for the pool. Energy efficient pump and boiler replacement, and an electric sauna. I guess it's a natural gas sauna.
No, it is electric sauna.
It is currently an electric sauna.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that in-person or virtual audit was performed on April 21st, 2020. I think Rick, you had mentioned there was like one section where it seemed like something was leaking out of the brick, or there was some section where a building envelope might be warranted. Building envelope analysis.
Yeah, I hope we took care of that with the new roof. But we're going to keep our eye on it's the pool atmosphere leaking out into the rest of the building. So yeah, we're going to try and keep our eye on it, but we think we took care of that during our roofing project.
And then maintain the Energy Star portfolio manager. So that's something we're working through with the Ready for 100, trying to understand kind of some of the nuances of how the data comes in and how to interpret it. And but that is a good way to track the data. It seems to be the easiest way right now, assuming we get everything working, and it is working well enough right now. So yeah, Bill, did you have any takeaways from this building audit?
Yeah, I think Rick did a nice job of walking us through the smart controls. So it was kind of like he has a dashboard with a diagram of all the pumps and operating air ventilation units in the building. So it was pretty cool. And he can drill into each one and find out what the performance characteristics are. So I think with Tad asking questions in his class, they were able to drive towards some, trying to understand, what it was actually monitoring. So I think that's where Elizabeth probably, brought this together.
Yeah, I just real quick. So we're hoping to renovate our pump room, which at that time we could look at the VFDs for the pumps and the motors, and maybe possibly bring the boilers down. Right now the boilers are on the opposite end of the building, so we're pumping that hot water all the way through the building. And there's, I'm sure there's some heat loss there, but maybe possibly putting the boilers for the pool water in there. So we may be able to look at some of this stuff. Pool covers, the problem with the pool covers is we don't have the manpower to put them on and take them off every day. That's although they would help over the community center was closed for 3 weeks, back in December when the governor shut down all the gyms and stuff. So we had a fill valve stuck. So I came in and the lap pool, which is, I don't know, somewhere around 400,000 gallons of water. It was about 3 or 4 inches above the skimmers. So the water had just filled up, And so I shut the fill valve off and let it go. I was thinking about backwashing the pool, but I let it go. So the next day it was back down to the skimmer level. So that gives you an idea how much water is evaporating out of there every night. You could probably figure it out with the dimensions of the pool and the height of the water, but it's, probably, thousands of gallons of water, at least hundreds of gallons of water.
Wow.
But the problem is trying to have someone, that's a big pool. It's 75 feet by 75 meters, to try and have somebody put that pool cover on every night and then take it off at 5:30 in the morning. It's a problem. But I mentioned to Bill before this meeting, I have to pick my son up over in King of Prussia. So I have to go. I apologize. If anybody has any questions for me before I go, I can try and answer them for you. But I do have to leave in the next minute or so.
I guess just one quick one, Rick, was that we're still trying to figure out the my account data, and we're trying to, kind of summarize all our data. You think we can get a conversation with our ESCO to see how that works?
Yeah, I did talk to Tim Krillman, who deals with them. They have not set the my account up. It was recommended that they would be the ones that would administer that because they're on and off there so much. If we can't get that set up, I will get you what you need as far as bills for the year, or from, whatever whatever the last ones you had were. But they have not set the my account up as of right before the holidays.
That's fine. I might reach back out to the Pico contact that we had originally contacted for training, and see if he'd be willing to do a training just for us in the meantime.
Yeah,
That would save the manual bill collection.
okay.
Cool. Thanks. Any other questions for Rick?
I have a question. Rick, did you find out about trees? I don't know if we were going to talk about that later or not, Bill.
So I got an email on Friday from the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society, and they're saying that they will, the email said they'll have the order form out in a week, but they're expecting the pickup dates to be somewhere between April 21st and April 25th. So I guess we could tentatively, figure somewhere in that area to plant trees, but they have not sent the order forms out yet.
And how many did we do that one day we planted? Can we do the same number, you think?
Yeah, you can order, I think, up to 50, or it might be 20. It might be 20, and then you have to pay a premium after that. But yeah, I think we did 10 or so. I think we could definitely do that again.
Yeah, that was a fun outing, and I think we could be safe and socially distanced while we're doing it.
Maybe we won't have to by then.
Hopefully.
We will.
Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, no problem. I'll let you guys know once I get the the order and stuff like that. But I guess kind of block that time off, somewhere. We want to get them in the ground shortly after we pick them up.
Yeah, April 21st or so. We'll put that in the minutes.
21st or the 25th is what they're estimating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'll
All right.
see you guys.
Thanks, Rick. Good
Yeah.
seeing
Have a
you.
good one.
Hi,
Rick.
Rick.
Hey, Rick.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Matt, I had a question for you.
Yep.
About the pool. In terms of recommendations, would you ever recommend making a pool saltwater to cut down on the evaporation losses?
Yeah, it's something I don't know about.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the benefits you get from saltwater, other than not using the chemicals, is that the evaporation is less. I don't know how much less, but like Rick is saying, if they're not going to buy a cover because it's too expensive or cumbersome or whatever, whatever the reason is, I don't know, saltwater gets you halfway there or something like that for not as much capital cost or whatnot. So anyway, just thinking out loud.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know too much. I personally like saltwater pools, but I would think that a lot of the maintenance and maybe like the wear and tear on the pumps might offset any savings.
Okay.
I wonder if there's a solution for the pool cover, some sort of, I don't know, some motor that helps out, or I don't know if you need tracks to run the cover at. I don't know. There might be something.
There are some private pools that have that, but they're a lot smaller than, because my cousin used to take care of houses that had indoor pools.
Mm.
And he didn't have one, but he took care of the house. And it was a one-person operation, but it was, and it was electric, but it was a much smaller pool, just a big, long rectangle. So I don't know. And I don't remember, I went there one time to help him, and I really can't remember how it was set up, but it just kind of rolled back and then rolled forward.
Yeah, I think there's definitely be significant energy savings. Because if that's evaporating, it's also taking up quite a lot of energy, probably sucking heat in the winter. And I don't know.
I'm shocked at the amount of water that gets evaporated. I had no idea. Wow. I mean, water's going to become a scarce resource. Anyway.
So you wonder if the savings on the water purchase could justify the extra labor.
How many people work in the building at a time? I don't know. It's something we can look more into, look at what the options are.
I think you definitely have to have something mechanical. I don't see how a couple of humans could drag a cover that size. It's a massive pool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So conclusion. So summary of work. It's workshop. Sure, things have probably changed. Let's see. So measure. So we did electricity baseline, liquid fuel baseline. That's a good start. We've been looking for opportunities to reduce, primarily in the GPCC. Electrification. So we helped out with the vehicle assessment. I think that was big, and started at the GPCC, which is the primary natural gas user. But I know that has new HVAC equipment, so that's something long term. And in the first semester, we looked at best ways to procure renewables out of the options available. So what's next? This is probably out of date due to, well, what's next would be to participate in this community energy strategic planning workshop. I don't know if everyone in the EAB has been receiving the updates that have been sent out. It looks like these are all still relevant. And identify and prioritize action is actually about where we are right now. Bill, do you have anything to add here, or Andy?
That's good. That's probably where I'll segue, and our next topic will be to kind of update you on where we are in the actions.
So I think we did prioritize some here, but this is the work of me and the rest of the team from Villanova. But we have more informed decisions and recommendations that are coming out of this workshop from Bill and Andy and I also. So I think I'm just going to leave it at that, unless anybody has any questions.
Very nice, Matt. Thanks.
A lot of work. That's amazing. That's impressive.
Yeah, it is impressive. Amazing what youth and energy can do. Thank you very much, Matt, for that update. Appreciate it. We'll try to get you in front of the council workshop in one of the upcoming months. I'll reach out to Karen Weiss
All right, thanks, Paul. Yeah, I would just say that we did have other members of the team that aren't present here tonight that helped get a lot of this work done. So
Yeah, you had a good team, at least 4 of you, right?
yep, and Rick was very helpful in getting everything done, as was Bill and Andy. So thanks to all you.
And
Good job, everybody.
And that's another reason why I invited Richard tonight, was that West Norton is the next township that Professor Schmidt asked if we had any candidates in the Ready for 100 for the Villanova teams to work with this year. And I reached out to a couple of munis, and West Norton raised their hand very quickly. And we're eager to get involved. So Matt's got a classmate who's running the West Norton effort. Do you know if they're continuing into the spring, Matt? Did you happen to hear?
I don't know. To be honest, I haven't heard much about the project since it started.
That's cool. All right, you can stop sharing. I'll share next. Thanks for that.
Before we don't have to talk about it, I'll just kind of make note of it. I guess I don't know too much about it, but I thought, doesn't chlorine have some ozone emission issues as well in pools? So the lower, you still produce chlorine in a saltwater pool, but it's much lower concentration. So there'd also be that emission benefit. It's not a greenhouse gas, but an ozone issue.
Yeah, good comment.
It'd just be something else to look into if we really wanted to be serious about, asking them to potentially look into potential saltwater pool rather than fresh chlorine.
Yeah, it would definitely factor in the analysis. I don't know too much about that.
So this is a kind of update where Matt left off in terms of taking a look at actions that we can recommend to the township to work on. So throughout the series, Clean Energy Strategic Planning series, we've been going to these sessions and learning about how to look at different aspects of energy transition. One of the exercises we had was to take this list of actions and try to rank them and prioritize them. And so we had a team of 4 of us. So starting, with these ranking columns here, the 4 of us put in our ideas on how we would prioritize, with 5 being the highest priorities. So then we took that ranking and averaged it, and then truncated it here, and then I kind of sorted that at a color sort so I could keep the colors together. So by sorting, we decided that there's so many actions to choose from that we felt that we would kind of draw this line above at the 4 and above. So the highest actions were our 5s and our 4s. So we kind of drew this line here to kind of, say, well, why don't we tackle these as our first level of recommendations to the township. There's no reason, we aren't trying to exclude anything below, and these could be kept in kind of a backlog. And then as an annual review of the plan is worked on, and they feel like they're making a lot of progress or not, they can reprioritize and pull things up from the lower categories. So we're really not trying to exclude anything. We want to, just offer something that's maybe a little bit more achievable. So then in order to kind of like help put this into a strategic plan, we kind of were talking about goals, creating goals for our energy transition plan. So we talked about these ideas of headline goals. Those are kind of the big picture. And we know the resolution is really to get to the 2035 and 2050 renewable energy targets. But then you can kind of break down this set of actions into these different goals, strategies, and then, we just change this to be objective. So I think that this kind of helps kind of summarize where we are and what we're trying to do. And then we can talk to, we can put notes in the, team notes section to kind of help document what we are thinking about. We can start to have conversations with the different department heads as to what that action might mean for their department. Who's going to implement it? Are they going to hire a consultant or do it in-house? So there's still a lot to be worked out. This isn't, a final. This is kind of like just our straw man. So we'll definitely use this to get feedback and to hear how the township feels about these actions. But the first level of procurement are really setting up your targets, your policies, starting to get your operations ideas of how you do procurement, and start to look towards how you would move into renewable energy procurement. So then we have 4 of these categories. The second one was efficiency, and we've done a similar categorization. Haven't finished filling in the goals and the strategies yet, but we prioritize these on the same kind of ranking idea. And we've got 13 actions in this group down to priority 4. Again, just another area for discussion with the township to see how they could start to think about making more efficient choices in their building operation and equipment upgrades, etc. And then third category was vehicles, and Matt spoke a good portion to this, creating a fleet analysis. And so we ranked these also. This has roughly 8 or so actions above the level 4, although we brought in a number 2 here, priority, even though we as individuals didn't rank it very high. We felt that working with neighboring municipalities in Montgomery County, or Ready for 100 in total, that if we work together and bring together our vehicle inventories, we might be able to get better discounts through CoStars or others. So this is another chance for collaboration. The 4th workbook is on renewable energy production. Didn't quite finish that one yet, so that is what we would do to install solar and make choices about ground mounts versus. So we've got our rankings. I just didn't get to finish assembling this in time for tonight. But that kind of gives you a feel for where we are. So I think in terms of presenting to the council on the workshop on February 1st, Monday, February 1st, I'm almost thinking just make it a very casual discussion, kind of giving them an idea of what we've learned through the series of programs. So maybe we'd have a PowerPoint with a couple slides to just kind of frame what we've done so far and where we are at this point. And then, put these spreadsheets up in front of them and just say, there's a lot of detail here. We're not trying to get your buy-in on each of these actions at this moment because there's too much detail here, but we could share these workbooks with them and then they could review them on their own. But we're just looking to have a conversation, get a little feedback, because as we start to pull this together into a plan document, we want to make sure we're not missing anything or that we're prioritizing something that they're not ready to take on. So that's why we want to have this discussion with council and the staff. So any thoughts, feedback, ideas here on our approach?
Bill, what are the 4 categories again that you have there? One is vehicles, one is
Yeah.
procurement. What is the first one?
So yeah, we kind of put them in an order, Debbie, of procurement, efficiency, vehicles, and renewable energy production. So I know this is kind of dry and not fun to kind of have to kind of grind out this type of data and action guidance. And I know the township staff and are probably not going to be fans of having to get involved in this. So I guess we're trying to find ways to enlist buy-in and gain kind of, just a understanding of what we're trying to achieve and not make it seem like a lot of work, but just some guiding principles to help them transition. Because I think, we don't want to overwhelm anyone. We don't want to make them think this is onerous. So any thoughts or feedback on what this looks like to you if you were the one tasked with trying to implement this?
Are you going to compile all 4 of those into one major ranking system, I guess?
Yeah, we could do that. I think we could put them on one worksheet, just have efficiency and then or procurement efficiency, vehicles and renewable energy production all down one page. Or we could have one workbook with 4 worksheets with just the summarized actions, maybe the ones that are number 4s and 5s. So I guess I'm not sure which format would be more amenable to someone. I think the kind of spreadsheet workbook approach could be summarized in a grid in a table on a page. So if we had to summarize this in a document, on a readable document, we could probably not have every column here, but we could maybe put the highlighted columns and then they could have the workbook for reference. I guess we're still kind of trying to figure out what the best way to pull this together would be.
I think procurement and production kind of naturally pair. They actually kind of compete, or you're going to do one or the other. Might do both, but they sum to get you to full renewable. So they kind of make sense to put on the same spreadsheet maybe, and like Debbie was saying, you could prioritize them together. But I don't know that the other ones that you would prioritize, or sorry, rank them together. But you could prioritize all of them together and thinking about, and this will obviously get into needing the townships and council's feedback on, what the resources really can, spend on all these actions. So we're gonna have to spread these out. And I mean, normally we've been looking at them along one sheet at a time. And we do have a column capturing, first year, second, third year, and so forth. So kind of phasing them in. But when we're looking at one sheet and we're assigning, our ideas on who does it, now you need to start looking across all 4 sheets and saying, you've got 10 actions here for, finance or whoever there I see is on the sheet a bunch. So, that workload, that's going to be something that the township's going to have to take into consideration. I guess I'm trying to understand. So the process that we'll have to go through. So we will bring this all together in the energy transition plan. But then that will need to go through reviews. Hopefully the DAB would review and edit, and that's going to have to go to council. And there's just going to be so much information in there to digest and try to take in and get through. I'm trying to figure out how it's going to be possible for people to review this and really dig in and understand it and really provide good feedback so we can edit it, and then also so we can eventually get it approved. How can we get it approved in a reasonable amount of time? So I don't know, maybe Bill, maybe Karen, I'm looking at you to I know the council and the township staff are exceptionally busy, so trying to figure out how we can get through this work with them.
Any thoughts, Karen?
You're on mute, Karen.
Sorry. Yeah, the township is very tied up with, making the renovations to the new building. So I know that's consuming a lot of time with, there's the financing of it and the final plans and all of that. So I know that's taking up a lot of time. I think, some people are naturally resistant to electric vehicles. I mean, not me, but and I guess they need more reassurance in that area. I know, I think we've spoken before about it. The police, when they're out in their vehicles, they leave them on. So when they're sitting somewhere or patrolling, both to make a quick start if they need to, get somewhere or go after somebody, but also just to have the air conditioning and the heating while they're sitting in a parked vehicle. So, I don't know. Just gotta sell as best you can, I guess. I think, on council's part, I know that Chris Monero is committed to renewable energy. I know that Kathy Bandish is very environmentally pro-environment, and I am. I don't think Marty or Dave are for or against it. They're certainly not against it. So hopefully the changing federal outlook will be able to filter down at the state and local level, about climate change and seeing how urgent it is.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Andy.
Well, I was just saying, I think that's good feedback, Karen. I do appreciate that. But I guess, what I was trying to kind of get at is there's just a lot of information here. You've got the EAB, you've got the team that's participating in it, but ultimately it needs to be approved by the council and by the wider township. So I'm trying to just figure out how we approach just being able to present this to them. I mean, Bill's talking about it, having the conversation, and that'll be the first conversation with them on these different actions. But how we work through this energy transition plan with the council, there's a lot that we've been learning. We've got 15 weeks in already, and now we got a spring semester too. So we've been learning a lot. But now we need to get what we've put together or are starting to really put on paper, get that approved by everyone. And I just, unless there was amazing amount of trust in us, which I don't know is there. But we don't know everything about the operation of the township as well. So I mean, it's definitely going to take the township personnel and council approval to get this thing really going. And I'm struggling how we go from, even if we've got this great plan out there, how we really get it approved and everybody just the time to review and get their inputs into it. I'm
One
just trying to get an
possibility
approach.
might be to do what they did with the with the building. What will the renovations look like? What are the options and the cost? Would be to have a subcommittee. Maybe council would be open to that. One of the problems we have is that council can't meet and talk about things. They can't have separate meetings just to discuss this if there are more than 2 council members. If there are more than 2 council members, the sunshine rules require that it be advertised and open to the public. So that's why when they do have subcommittees to study things, like I was on the one for the human, establishing a human relations board to go along with our equality ordinance that we've passed, basically to make sure there's protection for our LGBT community. And they did that with the municipal building. Chris Monero and Dave Gannon were on that one. That might be one way to get more in-depth information to council. And maybe that is something that could be looked at.
What kind of committee was it called, Karen?
They're just like a subcommittee, or I don't know if they call it a subcommittee because we're not a committee, we're council, but they set up a committee for the municipal building. There were 2 council members, Chris and Dave. There was the township manager. There was the finance director, Tim, and other people. I'm sure Rick was on it too. I don't know all the people who are involved with it. They're the ones who had extra meetings in the conference rooms, met with the architects and all of that, but it was only 2 council members. And when they reported back or presented plans, it was at an advertised public meeting, the workshops, basically.
Yep.
So, and those have to be advertised. We can't have any ad hoc meetings unless it's advertised. And it has to be, we advertise it in a newspaper. It has to be so many days in advance and the public invited. So not that the public usually attends, but rules require that. The sunshine rules require that. So that might be one way to do it.
Yep, that's a
Because
good.
otherwise you have a massive amount of information, which the building renovations were a massive amount of information on cost and options and space and design and energy and all of those things. And then it was distilled and presented to council, and council members could ask questions of Dave and Chris and architects, things like that. But that might be one way to approach it, because you have so much information, and council doesn't have hours to devote to it. The full council at a full workshop, because as Bill pointed out at the beginning, the workshop meetings are all of these plans that come in for development and police matters and a lot of it's development matters, but stuff like that. I mean, you look at our agenda for our workshops and you can see the kind of things that we look at.
Yeah, thanks. Good feedback. I also, we did start interviews with a couple staff members. So we've interviewed Tim Krillman and Chris LaChava. So they're kind of aware of what they're doing. So we're slowly building up relationships with each of the staff department heads. And
Uh-huh.
I don't know that the council maybe needs to go through the detail of the plan, as long as they feel comfortable with what the township comes back with. We could do the labor with the department heads, get this all understood, and then present the draft plan to the council and then ask for approval.
Yeah, and then council can question, Chris Loschiavo or Tim Creelman or the various people
Yep.
who have been involved. What do they, are they buying into it? What do they,
Yep.
what, do they have any concerns? Are there things that we should move on quickly? Are there, they're the ones they do all the day-to-day work.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the fact that we had those conversations, and then maybe this opportunity to be in front of everybody on the first, we
Oh,
can
yeah.
we can maybe mention that we'll continue working on this with the individual department heads as we progress through the spring. And then hopefully by the end of our semester, we'll have something that we can bring back to council. Any other thoughts, Carolyn or Mike? Mike C, any reaction and what you've heard? Anything strike your perspective?
Just seems like a lot to try to ingest. That's all.
Yep. It's taken us a while. I mean, Matt and Randy and I have been working on this since October on the rankings, November, just getting this far. So part of it's just, the ability to put time into it. It's not that onerous, what we've had to do. It's just that we, you go a week or two and you haven't had a chance to look at it, and then you got to reorient yourself. But I think once you put the actions in front of people and they understand, oh, our goal is to get to clean energy, here are some intermediate steps that we'll have to think about as we start to go in that direction. And then it kind of gives the staff and the department heads a new perspective on how they approach their equipment upgrades, vehicle upgrades, and it just offers them more options, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Really,
getting the staff
awful
buy-in
lot
is
to
important.
digest.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Carolyn.
No, I was just saying, it's just the magnitude of it is so hard. It's a ton of stuff to digest. This must have taken hours and hours of work.
And Carolyn, can you imagine if we're just putting this plan in front of the municipality, how much work do you think it is for us to be able to approach all our commercial businesses, institutions, and get all our residents to transition by 2035 and 2050? Look at the amount of work that's going to involve, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know you can say there's always an excuse for people not to listen to what you have to say, but especially this year in a hopefully, knock on wood, a post-COVID world, I don't know how many people are going to be concerned about, improving their businesses or municipalities with green energy, and rather than just staying afloat. You know what I mean? So
You're right.
I don't know how folks will be receptive to this when they can't even
That's true.
make ends meet sometimes. So.
And a good observation, Mike. One thing that I think we have going for us, hopefully, is that, we put this plan out there and say, we've got these targets of 2035 and 2050. We don't, even though we have some actions that we want you to do in the first 2 or 3 years, through 3 years, maybe you just kind of get your ideas together and your policies and your procurement practices, but then maybe you wait until 2024, 2025 when things are cheaper and you can buy vehicles at a better discount. Maybe there'll be more rebates. So it's not like we're trying to get people to aggressively go into this if they're not, financially or fiscally comfortable with it. And maybe then it's just that preparation and getting people ready so that when it does become more cost effective, they can go right into it.
Right? And you got to give people a deadline to work towards, or else they'll just keep spinning their tires.
Yep. And that's our next class is on Tuesday, the 26th. We're going to add columns to this workbook that are going to have the monitoring. Like you would have a goal for monitoring how well you're achieving these actions over time, and you would have a way to track where you're headed. So that'll be the next attribute that we add to these workbooks. So,
Okay.
but thank you guys. We'll probably come back to you with our next draft in March or April because we're going to have to get this done by the end of May if we can. But appreciate all your feedback. This has been helpful. So the only other thing on our agenda, I believe, was
Hey,
Facebook.
Bill, sorry to interrupt you, Bill, but I actually have to run. I gotta run to the store real quick for my wife.
Thanks, Mike.
I'm glad I made it this far. I'll talk to you guys in another couple of weeks then.
Yeah, we'll catch you next time. Thanks again.
Yep. Have a good one. Bye,
You
guys.
too.
Bye, Mike.
So the next topic was just anything that you wanted to touch on, Debbie, on Facebook or the web site.
No, I've been a slacker. I apologize for the Facebook. I am not a social media maven. So I have not sent too much to Brandon, unfortunately. I wanted to do something about the Christmas trees, and I'm thinking, well, everybody knows that they get picked up on, Wednesdays with your yard waste, but, maybe not everybody knows that, but I feel like, so I missed the boat on that one. Sorry, Karen. Oh, that was your great suggestion, and I totally messed it up. But I started putting together an article for spotted lanternflies. And I don't want it to be too much on a post for Facebook, but I think, a small blurb, I think I'll pull out like just something small and then a link. And then I've been putting together notes for the website, more so to clean up the website, that I think it could be more appealing in my opinion. So maybe I'll send an email to Brandon and CCU Bill to help with that. One of the things I noticed, I'm just going to mention that some of the other councils or groups, boards, they have the terms are listed there. So I don't know, Karen, if that's a requirement, but I don't even know if we all know what our terms are, that we got reappointed, but should we put that on that table for the EAB?
That'd probably be good just for our remembrance, because I always forget where we are in our terms. I think
You were just reappointed, weren't you, Bill?
and I was just reappointed, so I just started a 3-year term today.
And we're going to be getting a new member. Did Mike, I forget if he sent Mike Van Buren, if he sent his resignation email to Karen. I think he did. And so we'll be appointing someone new to the EAB to take Mike's place.
And Debbie, do you mind reaching out to Linda Linkle and ask her if she knows what our terms are?
Yeah, I was going to say, because that's kind of my new job now at my full-time job, is reaching out to all the appointed members. And so I'm like, well, geez, I don't even know when mine is. Like, when is that? I would think it's soon, but it's just, so I'll reach out to Linda, but I thought it might be a good idea to put them on there because I noticed like zoning hearing board and planning commission, I think they all have the terms on the website. The other thing I wanted to do is the recycling information. I wondered if it was still current. I wanted to see if we can remove anything. Are we allowed to remove stuff? There's like Monco recycling from 2016, I think can go away. There's an e-cycling event that was listed for December, but I have no idea what year, and it probably wasn't last year. So like some of those things I'd like to like clean up and make it a little more current. The Dirty Dozen and the help help improve recycling load quality. They're from some organization called Community Recycling. I don't even know if that's a current vendor that the Plymouth Township is using. Does it? I mean,
Chris Loschiavo will be able to tell you. I know that I believe we now have a negative return on recycling, meaning it cost us more to get rid of it. We
Oh.
used to make money off of it, but now we pay to do it. But we do it, and we're not going to stop. But
well,
so
maybe I'll
Chris
reach out
has,
to Chris and have him help me, you know, clean that up a little bit.
I think he would be the best one because he knows what we can accept and you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like no pizza boxes because they're soaked in grease. I know you know, full disclosure, I do not recycle my peanut butter plastic. I just figure the hot water that it's going to take to clean that plastic uses more energy than just sending it to Covanta. So
I'm
Yeah.
with you on that.
And you know,
I'll rinse out a lot of stuff, but not peanut butter.
That's right.
the other thing that I see people doing an awful lot, and I know that it's a hassle, is trying to recycle their plastic bags or even putting their recyclable in the bags.
Oh, no.
You can't do that. They'll
No.
no longer pick it up if you put your recyclables or your yard waste in plastic
Right.
bags.
Yeah.
Grocery stores were, and then it kind of paused in COVID. Your plastic bags go to your grocery store. That might be a good thing, is to let people know local places you can take your plastic bags,
Yeah.
like who still has them. It's mostly grocery stores that have them. And that might be a good thing to start trying to research. Like I have a couple of baggies filled with batteries that I'm like, well, where can I take my batteries?
Throw them out unless they're the heavy duty ones.
Why?
I thought you weren't supposed to put them in your, my batteries say don't put in the trash.
Right.
It just depends on which kind of battery it is. If it's regular alkaline, you can throw them away.
Well, I have a question.
And
We-
light bulbs, where do we, you know,
Yeah.
where do you recycle light bulbs? Does Best Buy still take light bulbs? Does Home Depot still have anything set up? Might
Home
be nice.
Depot does.
Yeah,
Huh?
CFLs. You can take CFLs to Home Depot. I don't know about regular incandescent if you still have them, and I don't know about LED.
I don't think we don't have any more incandescent.
You know, Debbie, the other resource that's maybe helpful for Montco is the Montco Recycling County lead.
Yeah.
And,
I
she's got good advice.
Yeah, I actually heard her speak at Lower Gwinnett Township last February, just before COVID hit. And she gave an awesome presentation. I forget her name now, but she was there like over 2 hours, and they had a lot of residents that were really engaged in that presentation. She showed a video of how things are broken down and recycled. I did look on the website just over the weekend to see if the hazardous waste events, you know, that they usually have in Montgomery County have been posted, and they're not there yet. They say to check back in February. So that's something else that I have on my radar, to put a link, you know, or something to our website and on Facebook, because people are always asking, how do you get rid of, you know, paints and tires and chemicals and things. So I also, when I was there at Lower Gwinnett, their EAB or C, I don't know. I think it's an EAC there. They had a cylinder, a container in their lobby that took batteries. So I was so excited because I came home and like got my batteries together and made another trip over there at some point. But I think they told me that they had to pay for it. I don't know how much it was to get that recycle cylinder. And I don't know, it was probably 3 foot tall. And then the residents could come to the township building and dispose of their batteries there. And then it gets sent to this company that I don't know, sends them.
Maybe we
some-
should all let you know when we become aware of these various events, like the police had their, prescription medicine event.
Yeah,
And we
that's a
could
good
have put
one.
it on our page.
Yes.
I'm in with the Colonial Democrats, and we
Try to-
always have a couple of electronic recycling events,
Yeah.
and sometimes paper shredding. The police had a paper shredding some while ago. So maybe, like when we're aware of these things, each of us could let Debbie know, and it can be something that's on our Facebook page to
I
help
agree.
promote it and get rid of some of these things. And so, Carolyn, even if my battery says don't throw it in the trash, you think I should? I got to tell you, I've got
Well-
I have so many batteries because I changed all the smoke alarms and, watch batteries and just all kinds of little AAAs and AA's, flashlight batteries.
The Department of Forestry, and there's a couple other places that say that just for the regular alkaline, that you can throw them in the regular trash. I was just trying to look at a couple different places, and each one kind of says something different. The big thing is that any of the cadmium or the lithium, those kind of batteries,
Yeah.
the one that like the round flat ones, those you have to take like to the Home Depot or Lowe's. I think they both have containers. I know where the one at Home Depot is. I'm not sure about Lowe's. And that's with that battery company. And regarding the lights, you can take only a certain size of those CFL lights. Like, the big 4-foot ones, you can't recycle anywhere. I think you have to wait for hazardous waste.
Ah, okay.
It's, I think it's a good idea to put it out there because, about the different things and how they have to be handled. And Chris would probably know best for the, for the batteries, but I'm just repeating what I was told and I've seen online.
And Debbie, we could also tap into Conshohocken EAC or EAB and Ambler EAC. They're pretty progressive environmental boards, and they do a lot of public communication. So rather than recreating the wheel, maybe we could just copy from them.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a link on our website for trails and parks. I'm not too well versed in that if there's been any updates. I know Mike Van Buren was really keeping track of that the most, I guess, or maybe you, Bill. Could you take a look at that and see if there's anything that could be updated?
I think doesn't the township have its own parks page? I don't know that we need to
Or
create.
maybe take it down altogether.
Yeah, I mean, I'll look at it, but hopefully we can just link to a township parks page.
Yeah, they have a page, parks.
You do have a parks page, yeah?
All
I
right.
mean, I think it's. Let me see here. Well, it goes to the Plymouth Township. I remember, or the GPCC. I thought there was one where it went to a different splash page. I know it's in there somewhere, but I'll investigate that.
Yeah, Debbie, why don't you forward the link for us? I'll take a quick look, see if I see anything unique.
Right now?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
in the
I can't
notes.
do 3 things at once. The other thing I wanted to, maybe we can formalize and then post the criteria for the Go Green Award. I know it's probably something that companies or, in the area may not even know we have it, but I think if we kind of formalize what the criteria is and promote it, we could put it on our Facebook page and our website and kind of help get it out there that companies, they could be doing some really great things in our township and we don't even know about it. The
Great.
last Green Award was from 2016, the Maple Acres.
Great idea. Great idea. Let's publicize it.
So that's on a to-do list because it's going to take more than just changing the website. So that's it. I've been working on some ideas and I wanted to start with like cleaning up the website and then little tidbits that we can put over on the Facebook page.
Sounds good. The other topic we had talked about last month was our articles, and it turns out there's not going to be a spring newsletter mailing. So the only option we have, Rick suggested that we can create Facebook posts or web page articles if we want. So I know Andy drafted up an overview of the clean energy series, and Debbie, that spotted lanternfly sounds like it'd be another candidate. So maybe we could figure out how to structure it so it fits on a Facebook post or a web post.
Can we put them both places depending on the size, of course?
Yeah.
Right?
That definitely, the more eyes we get, the more audience. That's great because the web page stays around longer. The
Yeah.
Facebook posts tend to roll down.
Okay.
So any other topics for tonight? I know we're all exhausted, so don't want to keep you too late. I guess we do have an opportunity for public comment. Richard, do you have any feedback for us?
Hi, everyone. No, not really. I mean, it's very interesting to listen in as I get ready to start in working with our EAC here in West Norrit. And I was thinking about this idea or the ideas that were discussed in terms of presenting to the township officials for the energy transition plan and going into that with the worksheets worksheets. And like presentation just came to mind, how presentation and maybe a pamphlet, maybe that's too small, but something where it's just visually appealing and not overwhelming. I'm just thinking ideas for when we, as we develop our own transition plan here, and how that could be presented. I have to, of course, discuss that with members of our EAC here, but it just kind of got my gears turning as far as presentation. The other thing is looking ahead. I always come back to Reggie. I don't know if you're all familiar with Reggie, the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that once, hopefully, and things are kind of moving in that direction for it to become a thing for us here in Pennsylvania. But once that does and it gets moving, then there will be, not that this has necessarily to something to really latch onto and plan on per se, but there will be funds available from the sale of those allowances, those credits, to go into energy efficiency and different renewable energy options or alternatives. So that will be helpful down the road when it comes to trying to address these issues with townships and municipalities when they have significant budget constraints.
Yeah,
But,
good input, good feedback. Thank you for those ideas. I know how the Villanova's presentation, Matt, it's always done a good job on presenting the information pretty well. So rather than throwing spreadsheets in front of them, I think maybe you're right. There's got to be a way we can create just a high level synopsis that'll be more readable and just, something we can talk over. So we'll look at that. Appreciate that feedback.
thank you.
Thanks for coming in and sitting in with us for this marathon. Appreciate that. And we'll stay in touch. Carolyn just posted something in the chat, Debbie, on the battery.
Yeah, I just posted something from the Department of Environmental Protection for PA. It's just the alkaline batteries because they don't have mercury in them anymore. So you can actually throw them away, but the other ones have to be recycled. And then there was something from the Home Depot saying the same thing.
Okay,
Good.
yeah.
Thank you, thank you. So I think we're pretty complete tonight. Any other future idea or future things people want to put on the agenda for future meetings? We can always, can always let me know through email. I know Karen, at some point, Dogum will be interested to see whether the township ever is, as the solicitor has looked at his ordinance proposal. I don't know if you've got any updates on that, but at some
I think
point,
he's still of the opinion that we can't do it. I'm pretty sure.
maybe it'd be good to have a position paper. If he could reply to us with a position statement, that would be helpful.
Okay,
All right, well, gang, I think we did well tonight. Appreciate everybody's input. And Brandon, thanks for hanging in there with us. So do I have a
Absolutely.
motion to close?
I'll motion.
And a second?
Second it.
Andy, thank you. So meeting is adjourned. I'll see you guys next month, I believe on the 15th. And if you are available on Monday, the 1st at 6 o'clock, love to have your participation in the discussion with council.
I'll be there.
All right, thanks, Karen. Yeah, we'll look forward to your feedback.
Is the next meeting the 15th or the 16th?
Oh, 16th, did I put it on the agenda as the 16th?
I
Sorry.
don't know. I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, 16th. All right, it is Tuesday, the 16th. Yep.
Thank you. I want to make sure I have my
You're
notes.
right, third
Thank you.
Tuesday. You're right, 16th.
Thank you.
Everybody have a great night.